Does a fetus have a constitution?
Under repeated questioning, Supreme Court nominee Clarence Thomas refuses to reveal his views on abortion.
Israel makes a gesture that could lead to the release of more Western hostages.
And Mikhail Gorbachev utters words the U.S. has been waiting to hear. He's withdrawing thousands of Soviet troops from Cuba. I'm Frank Sesno.
I'm Catherine Crier. From CNN, this is The World Today.
On the second day of Supreme Court nominee Clarence Thomas's confirmation hearings, the questioning turned tough and insistent, but the answers remained elusive. Thomas was repeatedly asked about his past controversial comments on civil rights, abortion, natural law. But apparently reflecting careful coaching by the Bush administration, Thomas refused to be pinned down on any of them. CNN's Anthony Collins joins us now live for a look back at the day's testimony. Tony?
Under questioning today, Thomas repeatedly refused to say if the Constitution protects a woman's constitutional right to an abortion. Yesterday, he declined all comment on abortion. Today, he indicated he had an open mind.
I have no reason or agenda to prejudge the issue or to predispose to rule one way or the other on the issue of abortion, which is a difficult issue.
Thomas commented on Senator Howard Metzenbaum's stated fears that overturning the 1973 decision legalizing abortion would send women back to what he called brutal and illegal abortions.
As a kid, we heard the hushed whispers about illegal abortions and individuals performing them in less than safe environments. But they were whispers. It would, of course, if a woman is subjected to the agony of an environment like that, on a personal level, certainly I am very, very pained by that. I think any of us would be. I wouldn't want to see people subjected to torture of that nature.
Thomas came under questioning for his support of natural law, the belief that there are separate or higher laws beyond the Constitution. Thomas was asked about his 1987 praise for an anti-abortion article by conservative businessman Louis Lehrman, an article indicating the Constitution protects a fetus's right to life. Thomas had said this was a splendid example of applying natural law. But at the hearings, Thomas would not say if he agreed with Lehrman on abortion, and at one point seemed to criticize the article.
That you do not endorse the Louis Lehrman article in the extent that it argues that under the natural law principles of the Declaration of Independence, a fetus has an inalienable right to life from the moment of conception.
On the issue of abortion, I do not believe that Mr. Lehrman's application of natural law is appropriate.
Liberal groups have claimed that Thomas's testimony on Tuesday, seeming to downplay his earlier support of natural law, meant that he was changing his tune to win Senate confirmation. His conservative supporters deny any confirmation conversion.
And I think it's an inaccurate accusation, and I think it's untrue. And I use that word.
Arizona Democrat Dennis DeConcini accused Thomas of neglecting Hispanics when he was head of the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Moderate Republican Arlen Specter of Pennsylvania said he was troubled by two things. One, the fact that Thomas had criticized Congress repeatedly as a member of the Reagan administration, and secondly, that Thomas had seemed to take the other side in a particular case when courts had criticized discrimination. There are more questions to come for Thomas in the coming days. Anthony Collins, CNN Live, Capitol Hill.
And among those senators who questioned Judge Thomas on the second day of hearings, Patrick Leahy, Democrat from Vermont. He joins us now live from Capitol Hill. Senator, you had your first round of questioning today with Judge Thomas. Can you give us an assessment of the hearings thus far?
Well, in some ways they're difficult because Judge Thomas is really not answering many of the direct questions. I say it's difficult because most people don't know that much about him. They know that, for example, at his age, if he's confirmed, he will serve longer than a lifetime, and most of the people who are watching this are watching these proceedings. So I think most people would like to know, how does he feel about a woman's right to privacy, First Amendment, separation of church and state, and these issues. Today it was kind of a back and forth of question be asked and the response would be, I really don't want to answer that.
Well, Senator,
I think tomorrow it's going to be more direct.
Let me ask you, and you say it's going to be more direct. That is some concern, the abortion issue in particular, and you questioned Judge Thomas quite a bit on this. He continued to say he had no opinion to express on the decision handed down in 1973, Roe versus Wade, whether or not that decision was rightly decided. How do you feel about receiving that response from the judge?
Well, I find that response hard to accept because he has referred to it in speeches and in writings. I can't imagine any lawyer in the last 17 years who doesn't have some opinion on Roe versus Wade. Certainly anybody who's gone on the bench, who's in law school at the time, has decided, who has written about it as Judge Thomas has, obviously they have an opinion. I'm not asking him how he'll rule on a case that may come before the Supreme Court. I'm asking him what is his opinion on things he's already discussed.
Do you find this a bit ironic, or maybe even more so disconcerting, that someone who has been nominated for the highest judicial position in the land, one of the most esteemed certainly, is relaying to the senators that he has no opinion to give on such an issue? Is that a problem?
I find it difficult because there are certain basic cases that any lawyer, and certainly any judge, has at least some sense of whether the opinion was right or not. For one thing, these are cases that you go back and refer to as you go along. So I find it very difficult to have him say that he does not have an opinion on it.
And Senator,
it's not acceptable to me, and I don't think it's acceptable to a lot of senators.
Well, if it's not acceptable, would you refuse to confirm if he doesn't answer?
Well, we'll go through another round tomorrow. I would hope that by then he would answer.
But wouldn't you find then that that would represent a direct change of opinion or expression by the judge?
Well, let's see how the questions go. I don't expect him to be absolutely exact on every single thing. Obviously, in a long hearing, that's possible not to be. But on the basics, I do expect him to be consistent.
Well, Senator Patrick Leahy, thank you for joining us, and we, of course, will be watching tomorrow. Back to you, Frank.
Thanks, Catherine. And of course, CNN will bring you extensive coverage of those confirmation hearings tomorrow. When we come back, investigators head for the scene of a fatal commuter plane crash in Texas. Former heavyweight champ Mike Tyson answers rape charges in court. And later on The World Today, Mikhail Gorbachev plans to cut Soviet troop presence in Cuba. And Israel frees Arab prisoners, leading to new hopes for the release of Western hostages. Stay with us.
A Continental Express commuter plane has crashed in southeast Texas, killing all 14 people aboard. The plane, a twin-engine Brazilian-made turboprop, went down in flames in a cornfield. There are unconfirmed reports from witnesses that it exploded in flight, leaving a 4-mile trail of debris. Air traffic controllers say they were talking to the plane when it suddenly disappeared from radar with no word of a problem. Continental Express Flight 2574 carried 11 passengers and a crew of 3 on a flight from Laredo to Houston. It crashed near Eagle Lake, about 70 miles west of Houston.
A dramatic gesture from Israel is prompting new hope that more Western hostages will be freed from their captivity in Lebanon. The transfer of prisoners and dead guerrillas in exchange for information on some missing Israeli soldiers was meant to demonstrate a shred of good faith. CNN's Linda Scherzer reports on the latest efforts to end the hostage crisis.
The surprise release came after Israel received irrefutable proof that one of its 7 missing soldiers, Rahamim al-Sheikh, missing since 1986, is confirmed dead. One of Israel's key demands has been information regarding the fate of its POWs, some who've been held for up to a decade. Senior officials say it could be the beginning of a deal to release all hostages and prisoners.
We hope that this will be the first of a series of stages, at the end of which the question of the hostages, of the prisoners of war, of the missing in action will come to completion.
One by one, they crowded aboard buses to freedom. 51 Lebanese prisoners held captive by Israel's allied militia, the South Lebanese Army. All 51 are seen as possible keys to a wider hostage prisoner release, and the Army's commander hopes it triggers a similar gesture from the other side.
We make this initiative for pure humanitarian reasons and an indication of goodwill.
Along with the prisoners, Israel returned the bodies of 9 Hezbollah guerrillas killed while trying to infiltrate Israel. The coffins containing the human remains were carried on the shoulders of Israeli soldiers to the South Lebanon border, then handed to the Red Cross to be returned to their families for burial. The Israelis' moves are tied to UN Secretary General Perez de Cuellar's trip to Tehran, where he's trying to broker a deal to win the release of the 10 remaining Western hostages, 5 of them U.S. citizens. The key still lies with the Israelis, who hold more than 350 Lebanese and Palestinian prisoners, including Sheikh Abdul Karim Obeid, kidnapped by Israeli commandos from his home in South Lebanon and believed to be Israel's most valuable bargaining chip. But analysts believe that Israel